Good afternoon, everybody. Microphone check. Is it working a little bit better? Might be a little bit more background noise, but hopefully it sounds a little bit better. You can hear everything that's going on in the background, too. Seeing a little bit of volatility coming into the afternoon session and looking like there might be some potential scalpable opportunities depending on what's going on here. So I'm just kind of keeping an eye on what's happening, seeing if anything of interest wants to show up. Yeah, at the moment I've got the micro NASDAQ loaded up. That's the MNQ. Nothing against the S&P or any of the other ones. It's just, you know, the NASDAQ moves. it's a little more interesting to watch. So far, the market's really just kind of backfilled a huge level of support. We had this really nice drive down, and that drive down just backfilled a bunch of volume that needed to backfill, and now rotated back up again, or at least trying to. So buyers are trying to put in a reversal here going into the end of the day, but there has been some resistance all morning. Looked like buyers were really trying to get it to rotate higher, and then they failed. I think a lot of buyers are probably stuck underwater right now. Sellers pushing back down again. Relatively aggressive move, too. This is kind of the last stand zone for buyers. If the buyers are going to hold it, they're not going to want to see this area lost by too much. Right around in here. Now, from the seller's perspective, sellers so far, seller's zone is not too much farther away. Got this little bit of back and forth. I'm curious of how you take profit. Yeah, so it depends on what's going on. Obviously, if there's a huge amount of volatility, then just going for 2 ticks doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You know what I mean? If I'm building into an area and I'm looking for, as an example, if I wanted to be a long right now, which I'm not saying I do, but we're in a buy zone and maybe it looked good. So if I wanted to be a buyer down here, naturally, I don't really want to see this broken down by much, right? So if I'm buying into here, I'm okay if it dips a little bit lower, that's fine. But realistically, they should hold this area if that's going to be the zone that I'm looking to pick up. So when I'm looking at that, visually, I need to make sure that my target is at least 1-to-1, if not a little bit more based on my stop. So if my stop, or in this case, I don't really use stops when I'm building into positions on the micro. That's why I use the micro. But my exiting point, or when I start liquidating positions, is going to be underneath that low. So if they start breaking down underneath that low, then, you know, that's kind of where it's a do or die anyway. So my target's got to be at least 1-to-1 off of that, if not a little bit better. Usually first targets, I'm looking for around 1-to-1. But if I'm able to get, you know, more than that, depending on how the market responds, then awesome. All right, sellers lost their grip underneath that zone. Bulls did end up holding it. Man, I really didn't think they were going to hold that, but nice little power move right back up again. Trying to find a little bit of support on this reversal up. It's nice that they broke above that 16 quarter area because that's where all of that resistance was. And now that we're above it, it appears as though buyers are kind of picking it back up. Need a little bit more proof, though. We still have a very high-weighted POC way up there at 12,127. It doesn't look like there's going to be any other volumes that take it over. They tried to it around the 946, but that means we're going to be left behind with a big old, a big POC right at the top. And now the market falling down, so it seems like the shorts kind of took over a little bit. A little bit of a washout here. Buyers might buy into it. Realistically, though, I want to see the buyers come in a little bit stronger. We have the first time we broke into a new high. Give me a little bit more proof. See if maybe they can break above a new high. Or the sellers take it right back down again. So if the buyers are going to take this back, they're going to need to break back above this 16 quarter. Preferably, I'd like to see them make a new high above 21.75. And we may have an opportunity for the buyers to try to come back in. Nice bull bar back up, trying to break back above that previous area of resistance. That's a good sign. That helps the buyers a lot. If we can get a little bit of a back flush down towards the 15 quarters, well, now that they closed out that nice bull bar, we could potentially look for a little bit higher up. 1750, 14 quarter in that area. If this continues driving higher, that's actually a good thing. I'm still not going to buy way up at the top, but seeing it continue shows that buyers are at least trying to get it going. So seeing if they can dip back into that zone would make a lot of sense. And if they continue closing strong bull bars, then might end up having to move objectives a little bit further up. At the moment, the zone of interest is right around in that orange box area there. That'd be a retest of that previous structural zone, too. Starting to dip back into that support zone and getting a push back up. First target area is going to be floating around the 20 halves. See if they can get a little bit more juice in the tank, though. If the market does want to pull back a little bit further, that's totally fine because the next support zone's a little bit further down to 9. See if they can get that pop up. First target area. There we go. A little bit more continuation if it can get the job done here would be nice. Didn't get filled down there in the 14 quarters, but seeing if they can go a little bit further now. Still long from 15 quarter, but the buyer's not triggering in above that previous bull bar. If they're going to hold it, I need to see them actually hold it here, and they're starting to rifle back a little bit. 240 ticks left on the candle. Buyers can still take it. This might just be a backfill type move. Deeper area of interest down here on this flush. Didn't get that fill, and now if they start jumping back up again, looking for above 1275s. Jumping out with one and the other one there. Just not liking how that's moving anymore. Nice little pop initially, but then it just kind of dumped on itself. We're breaking through, and now the buyers are losing their grip. So now I don't really have a reason to stay in anymore. Time to get out. Today in the European period, I watched gold moving right, but traded it wrong. Yeah, that can happen sometimes, especially with stuff like gold. I mean, all it takes is a whisper from President Trump or someone else, and it goes bonkers, you know? That makes it a little bit harder. Sellers grinding down again, and buyers losing their grip a bit here, which we kind of picked up on already. So seeing them roll over isn't necessarily that big of a deal. It's kind of anticipated at this point. See if they can roll back down. Buyers are still trying to hold this zone. But realistically, if it's flushing this hard, they probably lost it. I think that's pretty fair to say. Strong enough bull response off of the lows might still find some buyers. We're starting to run in towards that 4 o'clock time. We're getting into the bottom 12 minutes. This is when things start getting real fun. Sellers are still holding pretty strong here. They're not allowing much of a kickback. Every time the market tries to, well, do anything really, it just kind of gets knocked right back again. Sellers driving back down, but they're having a hard time below that previous bull bar. And we're still kind of struggling with this buy zone here. I know it broke down a little bit, but realistically it closed down once and then right back up again. And the next time around when it came to try to break it, it held it as support. So, I mean, everything is still looking like the buyers haven't necessarily lost their grip. Sellers are doing a pretty good job of fighting it off right now. Sellers trying to pressure back down again. Zone of resistance at the moment still kind of holding inside of here. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's there. Final 10 minutes. Now we're starting to get into the fun stuff. Nice little whippy dip there. Lots of wicks coming off of there and a micro double bottom at 998. Now we're starting to break a little bit further up. So sellers still have a little bit of resistance up here, but at this point it's fairly obvious that buyers are kind of taken back over again. So it makes more sense to be looking for a continuation. See if they want to pull back a little bit. First area of interest is at the 1250s. After that, it's going to be at around 875 for now. Upside objectives at around 19.25 at the moment, depending on how it wants to fill. Didn't get filled, speaking of which. There we go. Jeez, that thing popped up quick. All right, so first target area, would like to see the market get back above 16s. If it pulls back a little bit further, that's fine. Then there's a viable area on a little bit more of a dip. Drawing the average down a little bit further. Market breaking down a little bit further. Next zone of interest is going to be floating around here. Back at those 12,000s. Looking to see if the buyers want to kick it back up towards around that 10 mark. But if it does want to dip a little bit lower, there's a huge amount of support down here. Got about 7.5 minutes until we start hitting that 4 o'clock time frame. Now, first objectives, because of the way that this all ended up pulling back a little bit further, it can be down just a little bit more. Currently looking for around like 1575. Now, once they start tagging into the 12s, then the 1575s tested the target, no fill. There we go, out of that one. I'm going to grab the other one up here while it's jumped. I didn't have the best fills in the world on that move, and it pulled back a little bit further. So I'm going to reduce the risk a little more aggressively initially, and then see if we can get a little more follow-through. Next area, would like to see them break above 15. If they're able to hold above 15s, then preferably wouldn't want to see them really give that back too much. We've got those high closes, areas of interest. I'm going to drop one more here, still holding one. A strong bear bar, though, might cause some issues, depending on how they respond to it when it triggers. It is triggered in. A little bit more selling pressure, but so far, nothing yet. A little more carry through. All right, I'm going to look to see if I can just jump out. A little bit of a back flush, and it might be a break-even test, but I'm not really willing to let that turn into a loss anymore. It's already been kind of more of a break-even trade anyway because of how far it slipped. So getting out on that last little dip, still net positive, just not by much. Bulls still showing up with a decent amount of interest down here. Now, the buyers do still have this previous area, and that's kind of where the market's holding right now with about 5 minutes left. Unless they start rifling through it, then that's going to be a problem. I'm going to look for a potential short here off of this drive. We've got a lot of really interesting price action going on for a potential flush. Not looking for a ton, but this first move down, this is the target area. Out. Nice little flush. Just more of a scalp than anything else, but given that little pop that we had and knowing that the buyers were invalidated up here, they're running for the hills. Get out of the way, right? Quick little dip back down. Nice continuation drop. They've got 4 minutes. Market's still trying to push down a little bit. Having a hard time and might be dealing with a bit of a three-press wedge going into the close. It's right there. Sellers trying to put on a little bit of pressure back down. Nothing really standing out too much anymore. Now we're starting to get close to that 4 o'clock period. And normally, if volatility is going to kick in, it's going to be somewhere around here, but it starts getting really nasty. The closer and closer it gets to 4 o'clock. And usually at like 59 and 20 seconds. That's when things get really interesting. All right, well, I'm not going to risk any more of it going into the end of the day, into 4 o'clock, but just a quick little scalping session. Overall, not too bad. A little bit choppy there, trying to grab it on that dip at 351, but once that failed, it was a nice reversal back down. Pretty straightforward overall. Just, yeah, well, we'll see if we can get a little bit more aggression next time. Either way, though, nice little afternoon scalping bit there, but that's going to do it. As per the usual, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email, jhb@ssftg.com. Don't forget, if you haven't checked it out yet, there's a free 3-day trial. If you go to SSFTG, you can sign up for 3 days and see all of this throughout the morning session, so you don't have to wait for the afternoons. But either way, if you have any questions, shoot me an email. Otherwise, though, I will see you all next time. Have a good one. We'll talk to you all later. Thanks.